Welcome to Projection Reflection. I'm your host, Coordinato, and today we are reviewing the newest film directed by Danny Boyle, Yesterday, which was released June 28th, and of course has the music of the Beatles. The cast includes Hamish Patel as Jack Mallock, Lily James as Ellie Appleton, Kate McKinnon as Deborah Hammer, and Ed Sheeran as himself. The plot goes that Jack Mallock is a struggling singer-songwriter in an English seaside town whose dreams of fame are rapidly fading. Despite the fierce devotion and support of his childhood friend Ellie, after a freak bus accident during a mysterious global blackout, Jack wakes up to discover that the Beatles have never existed. Performing songs by the greatest band in history to a world that has never heard them, Jack becomes an overnight sensation with a little help from his agent. This film I have been stoked for months. When I heard this movie was coming out, I was ecstatic. I could not wait for this film. I myself am a huge Beatles fan. And I have some stuff to show you after I finish this review. I have so much Beatles stuff. I love the Beatles music. It is my life. This movie, it has such a great premise. Like, so many people, I think I talked with people before, and they said, they had dreams like that, where what if, an artist didn't exist, but you knew their songs, and you had the music talent in order to become famous off of those. But would that be right, is the thing, though. Would that be right, taking somebody else's art and making it your own? This film, the cast is great. Incredible chemistry between both Hamish Patel and Lily James. The love story between these two characters is just so powerful and so enthralling. It really takes up the movie, it takes the mantle. And which makes sense because the Beatles songs, a lot of them, and I mean a lot of them, revolved around love, relationships, heartbreak, all that stuff. That was sometimes the main center of the Beatles songs, especially in their earlier days. And it made sense for this movie to have a love story and have the Beatles music tell a story within this film. I know that, Hamish Patel, the Jack Mallock character, he sings these Beatles songs. They show him performing them and recording them within the movie, but also there are scenes in which the Beatles songs tell a story within the movie. The song is saying kind of what's going on within the scene of the film. Speaking of the songs and stuff, great covers. Hamish Patel, amazing singer, very, very, very talented, and I look with great interest in his acting career. I think he's gonna be pretty damn good. But yeah, great covers of the Beatles songs by him, very, very well done. Like I said, a very, very lovable love story within this film between the Jack and I couldn't remember her name for a second, and the Jack and the Ellie character. It felt so real and so I guess that's the only way to really describe it. The relationship felt very realistic, and I really believed their performances in this film. Ellie James, man, she is one just very attractive beautiful actress, and I see her career going up even higher. Like, she's got the looks, she's got the acting skills. Who knows where she's going to go in her career, but she just did an excellent job in this film. Let's see here. We also have, I said that this film was a love letter to the greatest band in the world. And it was. Like, this film shows that it has much respect and much love for the Beatles' music. I guarantee the director, Danny Boyle, is a huge Beatles fan. It's just such a great movie to incorporate the Beatles' music and even teach newer generations Beatles' music, like show it to them. Like, I would love to see parents take their kids to see this movie and have them just be enthralled by the Beatles' music, just like us people have been enthralled by their music. This film has lots of layers. Like, it's one thing on top of another with this film. Especially with the corrupt business aspect of music. And Kate McKinnon's character is very much a part of that. I think the music industry did take down the Beatles in a way, and it certainly took down John Lennon. I mean, hell, because of his famous career, he got shot by some crazy dude. Like, it really shows that, like, the corrupt part of the musical business and how it affects Jack Malek's personal life. And it is pretty heartbreaking to see him, like, just suffer because he knows that he didn't write these songs, but everybody else thinks he did. Because there's this one scene, like, there's going to be tons of spoilers in this review, by the way. There's this one scene where he's at this business meeting, and he was like, well, we had some well, Jack, we took your ideas, because he had, like, so many ideas for, like, the album and the names of it, and of course he had, like, Abbey Road as one of the names for the album. He had Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band as one of the titles. He had the White Album, but all of them, they kind of pushed that away, and they just had this Jack Malek album that said One Man Only, and it says songs written and performed by Jack Malek. But the thing is, Jack is the only one that knows that's not true. And it's hurting him inside that nobody else knows about this great music. I mean, hell, if that was me, it would hurt me. That's for sure. There's a lot of pressure under him in this film, and it's corrupt business is definitely a huge part of this film. Unspoken love, of course, I talked about the love story, and Jack and Ellie, like, it's more on Jack's side because he doesn't realize that Ellie has loved him, like, since they were kids. And there's a line that she says, like, you had, like, 20 years to make your move, and he never made his move until just now. And it's like, is it too late for these two? Like, you never quite know if they're gonna make it or not. It's a very great love story, you guys. Like, trust me, a lot of us have been in that situation where either we didn't know somebody loved us or somebody didn't know that we loved them, and it's heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking to go through that in your life, to want to be loved by this person, but they don't really love you in return. And you never quite know. Maybe you're lucky and the person that you loved for so long finally did, accept that love and love you in return. Because that's all we want in life. We want to be loved and loved in return. And it's kind of like that line in the Beatles song, and in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. It's very, very true to life. Speaking of life, John Lennon is in this film. He is seen in the one scene where there's two other people that know that the Beatles existed. And they tell Jack, like, hey, we've been doing a lot of digging and we found this, and you don't know what it is at first. And you're like, is it Paul? Is it Ringo? Is it George? And then it's John Lennon opens the door to this, like, little house, like, in the outskirts of the UK. And it's pretty shocking to see like what John Lennon could have looked like as an old man. I mean, they got an actor and made him up to look like John Lennon. They didn't use any CGI effects, which I was happy about that. But they made him up to look so old. And I believe he lived to 78, and I think it's because he didn't have the pressure of celebrity on his life, and because of him not being a celebrity, he never was put out there, and that guy never shot him, so he lived to be very old, but he still had the wise words of John Lennon. He still was a wise, very knowledgeable, very a man that just wanted what he wanted out of life was to be happy, and he did find that in a normal life without music being a part of it. I loved that, I loved it in this movie. They didn't just get rid of the Beatles, that these people didn't exist. They do still exist, but they had normal lives, and they're still happy. And it's kind of what John says to Jack, is that, you know, if you find, I forget what the line is, but he's like, if you find this girl, if you love this girl, you gotta tell her. And whatever happens, happens, basically. And there's just this really funny part where Jack asks to give John a hug, and John's like, well, if you must, and then Jack just gives him a hug, and he's like, it's so great to meet you, and John is just like, you need serious psychiatric help, because he has no idea why he's coming to see him. He has no idea, and Jack is just enthralled by seeing John Lennon in person and seeing him at this age. Many of us would be, and it was a pretty sad scene. It's a rude reminder of what could have been. The main story another main thing in this film is happiness. Finding that happiness in your life, finding what you truly want from life. And what we really want from life is to be happy and to be loved. And there's a huge message within this film about that, and it's just so enthralling, you guys. It's so great. And another thing is finding where we need to be in life. Finding where we want to be in life. Because I guess there's a difference from where we want to be and where we need to be. Where we need to be is where we're destined to be, who we're destined to be with, what life we're destined to have. And that's your decision of the way you want your life to be. Do you want to live in excess and disturbing, terrible things in your life, or do you want kindness, love, generosity, respect, just all these great things in your life? You just need to find where you want to be in life, and that's another message within this film. I think this film was filmed beautifully. I love some of the angle shots that they take in this film, and I love some of the scenes where they honor certain aspects of the Beatles. There's a scene where Jack goes to Liverpool and he goes to see Penny Lane, he goes to see the Strawberry Field, he goes to see the grave of Eleanor Rigby. It's all this historical parts of Liverpool, kind of where everything happened, where everything started for the Beatles. The only nitpick I really have with the film is I feel like the film could have expanded on the premise of the movie a little bit more. Could they have gone farther with it? And that is sad that we didn't get to see more of that, because there is a scene within the trailer that wasn't in the movie, and it's the scene where he's singing something on the James Corden. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but he's singing something on that, and we don't see that scene within the film. I would have liked to have seen more scenes kind of like that, and just see them play with the Beatles story, play with their music a lot more within this film. Another thing, a good surprise, is that the Beatles were not the only thing that disappeared within this new world. Coca-Cola disappeared. We no longer have Coca-Cola. We no longer have the band Oasis. We no longer have cigarettes, which is probably a good thing. And we no longer have Harry Potter. You find that out at the end of the film that they don't know who Harry Potter is. It's crazy. It's nuts. Kate's character, like I said, she showed how selfish and corrupt that the business could be, and how music business could be, and she played it off pretty well. She was a very selfish, very mean person, and a couple of you would think that her performance was over the top, but I think it was pretty realistic. It was more overacted to show exactly how some musical business people can be, and how most musical business people can be. They can be corrupt and selfish and just terrible, horrible people, because all they want is your money. They don't care about the music. All they want is your money. But yeah, this film is just so great, you guys. Like I said, the two other people who remember the Beatles, they were great. They were very lovable characters. They're kind of weird because they're kind of in the same position as Jack. Like, we know all this stuff that used to be, and it's not here anymore. Like, what the heck? This movie really showed that the Beatles' music is timeless. That it will always be relevant, and even in this day and age, the Beatles' music is still relevant. And it still means something to people. Like, young people can listen to this music and still get something out of it. Still feel something from it. Like, that's how great the Beatles' music is, because it never stops being memorable. It never stops being great. This is just a must-see film for music fans and Beatle fans alike. Like, you guys are gonna love this movie just as much as I loved this movie. So, I'm going to score this film a 4.5 out of 5. The only reason I give it 4.5 is because I feel like they could have expanded on the premise a good bit more. So, now we're going to get into my Beatles collection. So, first off, of course I'm wearing my Meet the Beatles t-shirt. I have tons of other Beatles shirts upstairs, but I just decided just to wear this one. But here is the Yesterday soundtrack. Highly recommend you get it. Very well done covers of the Beatles songs. There's also a song that is from the movie, the Summer Song, which is what Jack Malik wrote. Let's see, we also have The Beatles, A Hard Day's Night. Very good Beatles film. Highly recommend it. We have The Beatles Rock Band. I love playing this game on my PlayStation 3. Me and my friends just love getting together playing this. We have Across the Universe, a very good Beatles movie, another good Beatles movie, which is a musical which incorporates a whole bunch of Beatles songs into it and tells a story. I might do a review of this in the future. Let's see, we also have the Across the Universe soundtrack. Right here, the deluxe edition has a lot of songs and covers. Very good covers, might I add. We have the Beatles Anthology, the first 2 volumes at least. Very good collection of old recordings of Beatles songs, like pre-recordings. You can hear them talk about the creation of the band and other things within these CDs. There's actually 2 original songs that were created for this, which were Free as a Bird, and I believe it was Real Love as well, which were songs that were originally recorded by John Lennon, but then Paul, George, and Ringo got together in the 90s to record with John's recordings and make 2 new songs out of it. We also have the Beatles Black Album, which I know it looks brown, but that's because it got into the sun, because as you can see on the back, it's black. But the Beatles Black Album is Beatles solo music post-breakup. Like Paul, John, George, and Ringo post-breakup within this, and it is such a great collection of their breakup songs, because if you take all the Beatles music, if you take all the solo music they have and put them together within an album, you get the Beatles. You listen to the Beatles, because it's not about who's the better Beatle. There is no better Beatle, in my opinion. They're all great. They're all great in their own way, and they collaborate so well together. So when you hear all their solo music together, it's like hearing the Beatles. Like, you can hear it. It's just so great, guys. I also have the movie Nowhere Boy, which is a very good story about Young John Lennon. Highly recommend you watch this. Definitely pick it up if you see it. We have the Beatles anthology documentary on DVD. Very good documentary. Highly recommend you watch it. We have 8 Days a Week, which is on Hulu. I also have it, of course, on Blu-ray. I watched it on Hulu first, but I have this edition on Blu-ray, which is also extended, has special features. It's about the touring days of the Beatles. And it is directed by, of course, Ron Howard. And it is a very good documentary. Highly recommend you watch it. Definitely check it out on Hulu. And if you want to get a copy, definitely get this copy right here. Very good. Alright. I gotta move a lot of stuff around here. Let's see. I really hope I'm not gonna drop anything. Let's see. Move. Whoop. I'm gonna drop some stuff. You guys, let's see. I have the Beatles Invasion book, which is by Time Magazine. A good read. And great pictures. I'm going to drop that on the floor, actually. Let's see. The Beatles One album. This was one of the first Beatles albums I bought. It has a mixture of a lot of their early and later music. If you are just getting introduced to the Beatles, I recommend getting this album and then getting the rest of their albums. But this is a good way to get introduced to the Beatles music. Highly recommend it. I love this CD. It's very well loved. Speaking of CDs, we have all the CD copies of the Beatles albums. We have the Beatles, Please Please Me. We have With the Beatles. We have the Beatles, A Hard Day's Night. We have the Beatles, For Sale. We have the Beatles, Help. We have the Beatles, Rubber Soul. We have Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. We have Revolver. We have Magical Mystery Tour. We have the White Album. We have Let It Be. Abbey Road. And the Beatles Past Masters, which is another good collection of their... I'm going to guess the ones that were on the 45s, the singles. A very good collection of Beatles singles right here. Alright, I'm going to put that down there. Now we also have a collection of my Beatles vinyl. We have the Beatles live at Star Club in Hamburg, Germany, 1962. We have the Beatles featuring Tony Sheridan, another early Beatles record. Both of these were before Ringo, so this was when Pete Best was the drummer of the Beatles. We have the early Beatles vinyl record. We have Meet the Beatles. These are all the American released Beatles vinyl records. We have the Beatles second album. We have the Beatles 65. We have Something New, the Beatles. We have the Beatles 6. Or would that be 4? I'm really bad with number numerals sometimes. We have the Beatles, another Beatles album right here, another early one. We have the Beatles, A Hard Day's Night, one of my favorites. We have the Beatles, Help. We have the Beatles, Yesterday and Today. We have the Beatles, Rubber Soul. Of course, I don't know if I said this is my all-time favorite Beatles album ever. We have the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band on vinyl. We have Revolver, the White Album, Magical Mystery Tour. I forget what this one's called actually, but it's one that's a collection of their singles. Let It Be, one of the Beatles' last recorded albums. And the Beatles' Abbey Road. Another great thing I have to show you guys is a t-shirt that I got at a Paul McCartney concert about 3 years ago. Saw him in concert with my friend Dylan. It was amazing, and it has all the dates on it. I went to the one that was at Hershey, and it was one of the greatest concerts I've ever been to. As you can see by all the things I have, I am a massive Beatles fan, and the music, their music changed my life. Like, I absolutely love their music, and it still speaks to me today. And if I'm feeling a certain way, I can just listen to a Beatles song. If I'm feeling sad, I can listen to the Beatles. I'm feeling happy, I'm listening to the Beatles. Like, there's a Beatles song for every mood. And the music is just transcending. It changes you. It changes your life. a world without the Beatles is just nuts. And they say it within the film, like, a world without the Beatles is a very bad world. The last thing I have here to show you is my Beatles art piece. I'll have to go around with it for you guys. This was done by my sister-in-law, Madison Mullman, and I will leave a link for you guys in the description of the video for her art, because she will do art pieces for you, and she also has she has an account on Etsy where you can also get things that she has made. She's a very, very good artist, guys, and I highly recommend you check her out. She's very, very talented. This is just amazing. I mean, look at the detail on this. Like, their faces it looks so much like their faces. Like, I remember when Mackenzie gave this to me for my birthday one year, and I was just crazy about it. Like, I still am. This thing is just such an amazing art piece, and it's just so great. Well, that is, I believe, is all my Beatles stuff, and I hope you enjoyed looking at it and seeing it. Please check out Yesterday, and please subscribe to my channel. Also, please check out the Beatles music. You will not be like mistaken to not check their music out, because they are just highly recommended by so many people, and they are just so loved by so many people. The Beatles just have incredible music, and they are incredibly talented, and they're still relevant today. Their music is timeless. So yes, please check out Yesterday. Great film. And please me, please check out the Beatles. I will see you guys later.
Yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, I believe in yesterday. Suddenly, I'm not half the man I used to be. There's